We got some great news to discuss on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and welcome in. Kevin O'Connell was talking to the media today, and he had some great news on J.J. McCarthy possibly playing in the Week 18 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. And also KOC was talking about his right-hand man, Brian Flores, and it sounds like the Vikes would do whatever it takes to keep him in Minnesota. Let's start off here on J.J. McCarthy. Kevin Seifert tweeting this out saying J.J. McCarthy, with a hairline fracture in his hand, is progressing well, per Kevin O'Connell, and swelling has come down a little bit. Vikings still leaving open the possibility that he could play Sunday versus the Packers. And then also, KOC also said this. In the meantime, Kevin O'Connell said that he would get Max Brosmer ready to go, but noted that he wants to have all quarterbacks, including John Wolford and Brett Rippon, ready to play. And then also, KOC, an extra note here coming from Ben Gessling, saying he'd love to get J.J. McCarthy one more start if his grip strength is good enough for him to go. If McCarthy can't play, the Vikings would prepare Max Brosmer to play, Kevin O'Connell said. So a lot to break down here on this. So I'm not trying to say I'm calling BS on O'Connell's part here, but I would be very shocked if if J.J. McCarthy is available to go against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, he's got a small fracture in his hand. I don't know if the Vikings would want to kind of take that risk and maybe him re-aggravating that injury where it's like, okay, if he makes that fracture worse and maybe he's out 2 months, which would just delay his offseason process because clearly J.J. McCarthy has a lot of work to do, especially from the mechanic side of things this offseason. So I don't know if they would want to risk, him not being able to throw the ball for let's just say 6, to 8 weeks this offseason. But again, if he's ready to go, yeah, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell would want to have J.J. McCarthy have one more start. We all would. But I think the thought here has to be is and you could kind of weigh the pros and cons of, should they kind of rush McCarthy back for a meaningless game? Does it make any impact on the future if McCarthy plays or not? Is the Vikings brass and Kevin O'Connell, are they sitting up there and they're saying to themselves, all right, we got this 8.5 game sample size of J.J. McCarthy. Could, the 9th game push them in either direction where it's all right, he plays good, we're rolling with him. He plays bad, we're not rolling with him because, so far this season, it has definitely been – rocky road for McCarthy. He had a terrible 3-game stretch after the Lions game where he was playing the Ravens, the Bears, and the Packers. I mean, he looked like an unplayable quarterback where, he was in Jamarcus Russell territory. And that's why I was thinking it's so funny where it's people are like, oh, you're flip-flopping your opinion on J.J. McCarthy. Where it's listen, guys, he was horrible for 3 weeks. And then he actually started to show some flashes, against the Commanders, against the Dallas Cowboys. He proved himself, but still, you're seeing, the season total is 11 touchdowns, 12 picks. Is that enough to, write home where it's he can be the undisputed starter next season? Now, the Packers will be playing backups in this Week 18 matchup. This is already confirmed. They're already locked into the 7th seed in the NFC. They have no reason to play anybody in this. That applies on defense with guys like Edgerrin Cooper. I doubt he plays there. Sean Gary. I doubt any of their main guys will be playing. So if J.J. McCarthy, let's say, goes out there, he has a game like he did against the Commanders, against the Cowboys, and he lights them up and he goes for 250 and 3, does that make a huge difference? Because you're at home. Yeah, you're going against a good defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley, but does that really swing the Vikings over the edge where it's hey, we don't even need to go big game hunting this year. We got our guy. I don't think so. But on the other hand, if J.J. McCarthy plays horrible, does that make much of a difference? Or if he plays that bad, then it's oh, man, we got to hit the panic alarm here. We got to go get our guy. We got to go trade up in the draft. We got to completely panic this offseason. So kind of gets me back to it doesn't necessarily really matter in terms of the Vikings, big picture plans this offseason if McCarthy plays or not. But it would also be massive for McCarthy just to play, just to get the reps, because Kevin O'Connell, he always talks about the 50,000 hours of, playing the quarterback position or to do anything in life. You got to put some time into it. So obviously J.J. McCarthy having this game and just getting more reps under his belt, I think that would, definitely make an impact on his development and his future. And plus, personally, I just like to see the kid play. He's a firecracker when he's out there. He'll make some big-time throws. He'll make some bonehead throws. I mean, he is just a lot of fun to watch. He's a lot more fun to watch than Max Brosmer because, hey, Brosmer, shout out to you, Golden Gopher. Happy you got your first one on Christmas. This offense is unwatchable with you at quarterback. I mean, the Vikings can't move the football. He's missing guys wide open. He's got no feel in the pocket. But also, at the Vikings, one little random note on McCarthy here, it's if you don't have Darisaw, you don't have Brian O'Neill, do you want to roll McCarthy out there? Like, I know the Packers are going to be playing their backups, but for a guy who's been injury prone, like, he could get another injury. It doesn't need to just be the right hand that we're concerned about. Like, what if he hurts his knee? What if he gets another concussion? Like, a lot can go wrong. So I'm sure they're kind of weighing it all, but I will stand on my take on it. If JJ's available, you play him just to get the reps. And if he looks terrible, I don't think that should make any impact on your offseason decisions, just like how if he looks great. I don't think it should make any really impact. So there'd be no overreactions from this last game. This is just a glorified preseason game. But speaking on McCarthy, do you think he is the franchise quarterback? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no down below. Coming up next here on the show, Kevin O'Connor is talking about his guy, Brian Flores, and it sounds like the Minnesota Vikings will do whatever they can to keep him Minnesota. So we'll discuss that here in a second, but I do want to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making players picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and PrizePicks lets you take control. So download the app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you put your first $5 lineup. I also have a new feature called Early Payouts, so if your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out these winnings before the game even finishes. And find your community on PrizePicks with the new social feeds feature. You can share your PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like to use or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow PrizePicks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. So download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code CLNS. Get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Massive shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Kevin O'Connor at his press conference every Monday. This time he was talking about Brian Flores and talking about his impact he had, on this football team and just his relationship with Flores. I thought it was pretty cool stuff. Here's the exact quote from KOC saying, "Flo knows I love him. He was a guy 3 years ago that I identified to bring in here, and the growth and just our relationship and what he's meant to me personally is so massive. And that's not even taking into account what he's been able to do defensively for our team. It also has been such a huge part of helping us daily kind of weather the different storms that we had to navigate this year. Yeah, things are in a really positive place right now. I absolutely want Brian Flores to be the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings as long as we can have him." So we just kind of reading into Kevin O'Connell here. It does sound like the Vikings, like, they will do everything they can to keep Brian Flores because, hey, this should be no shocker to anybody. The man who's calling the shots in the Vikings organization is your head coach. It's Brian Flores. So him just saying that, is your head coach, Kevin O'Connell. So him saying that about Brian Flores, we should all take that as like, all right, this is like the Wolves talking. This is like GM Quasito Fomenta talking, where it's like, if they do have to match an offer from the Cowboys, from the Bengals, I fully expect the Vikings to do so because Kevin O'Connell, he understands how much of an impact that he makes on this team. Like he was saying, not only on the field defensively, but the swagger and the chemistry in that locker room. Like, Flores does add to the culture of the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think this is a hot take at all. Flores is going to become the highest paid coordinator in NFL history this offseason. Chip Kelly just became that this past offseason, getting $6 million. Well, here's what's going to happen. Jerry Jones is going to offer Brian Flores $7 million. Flores is going to go back to the Vikings and say, hey, Jerry Jones, you offered me $7 million. The Vikings and the Wolves will say, okay, we'll give you 7.5, we'll give you 8, we'll make you the assistant head coach as well. That'll keep Brian Flores hopefully for a couple more seasons because if I'm being honest, also KOC showing him some love, like, he knows he can't lose Flores. Like, what would this defense look like without Brian Flores? It'd probably be about a middle-of-the-pack group, depending on the DC you bring in there. But it's not like Kevin O'Connell and his offenses have been, like, number one in the league. I mean, this past year, they're, like, 29th in DVOA. They're 26th in EPA. Like, they just haven't been good enough to lose a guy like Brian Flores. So, clearly, he is massively important to this organization. They know that. Kevin O'Connell knows that. And they would do whatever it takes to keep him in Minnesota. So, I'm feeling confident. I also still think there's a chance he gets a head coaching job, which is a little scary, but we'll see what happens. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Give me the skull down below in the comment section. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skull Bucks.